Bonjour, little change of scenery. We are now in my childhood bedroom in Paris. Well, not my childhood bedroom because my parents. I don't know if you can tell, but it's pouring outside. But this isn't really my childhood bedroom because my parents moved into this house in 2015. I'm gonna close the window because it's starting to rain a lot. My parents moved into this house in 2015, the summer that I moved away to go to college in the United States, which is crazy. It's gonna be 10 years in August, but it's still my bedroom-ish. I don't really have memories here besides just coming on holidays, but that's where we are. It's 90 degrees out, so the fan, this tiny little fan, is on because French people hate AC, and I'm dying. But I just finished week 6 of The Artist Way, and how fitting is it that I'm doing this week here? I'll tell you more about it later, but this week was recovering a sense of abundance, very much focused on the financial aspect of the creative block that you can put on yourself as an artist or as an individual who does creative things. Mixed feelings this week. I was very apprehensive of this chapter of this week because since the very beginning of this course, I've been blaming financial anxiety on why I don't allow myself to do a lot of the creative things that I want to do and why I don't take leaps in my career. But at the same time, I have such a strange relationship with risk taking and this financial aspect of things because I've made pretty big leaps in my life where there was a lot of risk. I moved out of my parents' home at 17. I moved across the US multiple times with sometimes no big plan lined up. I quit my corporate job to do content creation full time, and then I launched my own business. Like, I know that I've taken big steps and big risks that someone who's super financially anxious might not have taken, but at the same time, finances are always on my mind. I think that's why I was a little bit nervous about this chapter because I was like, I just don't want to think about it more than I already do. But I do feel like this allowed me to think about it in a more intentional way rather than just feeling the anxiety and the emotions that are associated with it. On the first page of the chapter, I just wrote, I've been using finances to justify my block for the past 6 weeks, and now I have to face it. Why do I use it to justify it? Because I don't believe that my creativity is serious enough, and I think that it can be dangerous for my livelihood. A big chunk of this chapter is trying to tell you, like, don't listen to what you were told as a child about creativity, about these activities or these things that you want to do, and that they're not serious. But my parents never did that with me. My parents were always very encouraging. They never made me believe that if I pursued the arts or if I did something unserious or too creative, then I would be a failure at life or I would be broke. So I had to figure out, like, where is that coming from? And I think a lot of it was self-learned from comparing myself to others, from looking at other people's journeys, from anxiety that might be still in my genetics and in my family. I recently saw an interview, I think it was Miley Cyrus, that was talking about how she did some sort of therapy to uncover trauma, and the things that she saw, the trauma she identified, wasn't in her life. She saw her mom's trauma. Like, she just saw trauma from past generation, and that just went to show that trauma can be passed across generations, and that's why a lot of things that we carry are not even ours and they're just our families. And so I think a little bit of mine, maybe a lot, is coming from my father, who I love very dearly. But I think that's why it's so interesting that I tackled this chapter while I was home. Some really interesting parts of the reading. She says, we tell ourselves we will pursue our art when we have enough money to do it easily. The term that I've been using a lot for myself when I stop myself from doing these creative things is saying it's a bad investment, which is something that I need to work on and unlearn really bad, because anything you do for yourself and self-love and self-care is a good investment. Anything that makes your heart happier, makes you feel lighter, is going to trickle down and help with your motivation level, your work ethic, your output, your productivity, your mood. All these things are important. And so saying that these things are a bad investment is hurtful. I liked a paragraph where she wrote, what we really want to do is what we are really meant to do. When we do what we are meant to do, money comes to us, doors open for us, we feel useful, and the work we do feels like play to us. I think that taps into that silly saying. I can't say the word silly. She literally says, don't use the word silly. That saying that says, when you love what you do, you don't work a day in your life. But also, to me, it means we're all in search of that purpose in life. We're all trying to figure out, what is it that I am meant to do? How can I help the world be better? How can I, like, I feel like that's just a question that I've struggled with my entire life. Like, what's my purpose? Of course I know what I like and what I want to do and like what I enjoy doing, but what am I meant to do? What is my role? And this paragraph is basically saying whatever it is that your heart desires and that your mind is focused on and like that makes you feel alive, that is your purpose. That is what you're meant to do. And I think that just simplifies the question so much. And you're still gonna have doubts and you're still gonna question it and think about things. There's a full thunderstorm outside. You can't tell. It's scary. Anyways, I get distracted really easily. You're still gonna have doubts about your purpose and still gonna be seeking it, but at the same time, this just felt so reassuring and like comforting in a way. Because even though I feel like I'm pretty good at having a good balanced life, I work a lot and I work long hours, but I'm also really good at prioritizing things that make me happy, like spending time with my friends and my family, traveling, like things that make me feel full. I'm pretty good at investing time into them, but at the same time I still struggle with guilt. Like I'll do it, but in the back of my head I'm still gonna have a little bit of guilt being like, I should be working on this, I should be doing this. And so that paragraph just made me feel like you can toss the guilt. Your life doesn't have to equate productivity. Productivity is a part of it, and like feeling useful and purposeful and like you're working and your work matters is important, but it's not everything. That sounds so basic. All too often we become blocked and we blame it on our lack of money. That's all I've been doing. And it says lack of money. I don't even think it's like a physical lack of money. I've been very privileged my entire life. I got a great degree at a great school. I was able to get a great job afterwards. And I've been working since then, making good money. I've never had to complain about not being able to pay rent, but it's a mindset thing. It's just telling yourself lack of money, no, but lack of money for certain things that I don't allow myself to spend money on, yes. But not anymore. After this week, I find other excuses. One last funny thing in the reading, because I use that word way too much, she says, beware of silly as a word you toss at yourself. That's the whole point. Silly's not bad. Frivolous is not bad. Cultivating your happiness and things that are non-work related and non-productivity related is important. I'm really telling myself right now. The first exercise was called Money Madness, and it's basically asking you to complete sentences about money just so you can have a little bit of an introspective look into how you view finances and how to approach that block throughout the week. I'll read you some of my sentences. People with money are freer. Money makes people less restricted. I think it's pretty clear. I see money as a tool. But the flip side is I see the lack of money as a prison or something that locks you. I'd have more money if I went back to corporate. I think ever since I left corporate, and that's always the back and forth that you go into because the grass is always greener on the other side. Ever since I left corporate, all I've been telling myself is if I went back to corporate, I would have a stable income. I would know when the paycheck is coming. I would know how much. I would be able to climb the corporate ladder and like have a consistent increase in my income rather than hustling and chasing the next gig and the next paycheck and not knowing whether next year is going to be better than last year, even though my input is increasing. But then I talk to my friends who are in corporate and who are looking to get out because they're unhappy, because they want to free up more of their time, because they want to be more in control of their own schedule and life. All the reasons that made me quit corporate in the first place. And I find myself having these conversations with them that are basically me talking to my old self, and it's never ending. So in a way that's frustrating, but in another way it's also helpful because every time I have that thought like I should go back to corporate when I have stress about being self-employed, I'm able to look at those conversations that I have with these people in my life and tell myself, wait. You were exactly like them. And if you go back to corporate, you're going to be exactly like them. Every situation has its trade-offs and its stresses and its anxieties. You just have to pick. And I'm fine with the self-employed one. My dad thought money was scarce to hold on to. I had one really meaningful conversation with my dad when I came back from India in 2017. And we were just talking a lot about beliefs and things that have been impacting the way we act and the way we communicate with others. And he shared with me that being worried about not being able to provide for his family, us, was the biggest stress in his life. Even though he had been working at a corporate job for 30 years and he was very successful, that was still his biggest fear. And I think ever since that day, I've been able to pinpoint like, oh, that's where it came from. And I don't blame him for it, and I'm not upset at him for it. That's his baggage, and it came probably from his childhood or from his earlier life, but it's now a baggage that I carry as well, and then I'm working on putting down. My mom always thought that money would come back. That's probably what I should be holding on to. My mom was always great with finances. She was always good at investing. She was always good at knowing when to spend it so that it comes back. And she also has this sort of lightness to her where a bad situation is never really bad and we can always come back from it. So I think that's something that I'm trying to tap into more. In my family, money caused quiet worries. We never spoke about money, and I think that probably participated into making it a little bit difficult for me to grasp that notion with confidence, is because we never talked about it and it was very taboo. And I understand why. I think we grew up very privileged and my parents did not want us to have that privileged mindset and to be just like entitled, so they never shared with us how we were doing financially as a family. But it also meant that when we were doing a little worse or not as good, we didn't know, but we would feel the stress. We would feel the stress from our parents. We would overhear conversations. We would just see the changes, but we wouldn't have clarity about the situation. And so I think that started this thought in my head that you don't know what could happen. You don't know when the money could disappear, because I didn't really know what was happening behind the scenes and I just saw the outcome. It created a little bit of stress about it. The next exercise was counting. Basically, every time you spend a dime, you write it down. I wrote it down in my notes instead of my journal, but you write it down. You write down what it's for, and you don't judge yourself. Sounds simple. And I wasn't that surprised. Like, I'm not a big spender. I eat a lot of my meals at home. I spend a lot of time at home. The only times I really spend money are during the weekends when I'm social, like doing things outside, like Ubers when I have a drink, restaurants with friends, crash. I spent so much money on crash, but also I had to prepare for this trip and pay for a bunch of things at the vet. So God, having a child is so expensive. But yeah, the exercise wasn't bad because I'm anxious about money, but at the same time, I'm not bad with it. Like, I'm not gonna spend crazy amounts on things that I don't need. So in a way, it was almost reassuring, where I was like, oh wait, you're chilling. Some clearing exercises. One was throw out or give away 5 ratty pieces of clothing. I did way more than 5. I had bags of clothes that I already knew I wanted to donate. I finally got around to donating them. New changes in your home environment. I got more plants. It's starting to be a jungle, and I'm gone for a month, so I'm a little bit nervous about my plants, but I did put everything in the bathtub so that Jesse could go water them. I forgot to ask him though. I'll do it after. Then there was bake something, and it's weird because I actually started baking, or I had the idea of baking something before seeing this exercise. I just bought too many apples before leaving, and I was like, there's no way I'm gonna eat 8 apples before the next 2 days. And my mom used to make the best apple crumble when I was a kid, so I made an apple crumble and it was delicious. I gave leftovers to my friends and enjoyed it, and it was great. But basically this exercise was saying creativity doesn't have to come as art with a big A. It can be anything. Next one I haven't done yet. I postponed it because it says send postcards to 5 friends, and I love that and I want to do that, but I was still in LA when I read this, so I was like, I'll wait until I'm in France and I'll do it. So I think I'm gonna be in the south of France to visit my grandma next week, so I'll probably get 5 postcards that I love there and send them to my friends. But I made the list of friends that I'm gonna send them to. Favorites. That one was fun and hard. It asks you to list your favorites in 10 different categories. I'm gonna do rapid fire style because that's a lot. Category 1. Cars. I don't know much about cars. I wrote Jeep Wrangler. That's my current car. That was my dream car ever since I was a child. I love it so much. Vintage convertible. I don't really know what, but I feel like a Mercedes-Benz are the ones that I usually like. Porsche Cayenne, a vintage Bronco, and overall just big cars. I don't know if it's because I'm small. I'm not that small, but I've always felt small. I'm 5'9" on a good day. I like big cars. Next category is dogs. Bernedoodle. He's sleeping. I can't bring him here. Oh yeah, what the hell? I brought Crash to Paris. It's the best. My parents love him, and I love having him here. And he has a garden, a backyard. It's so much fun, but he's napping right now, so I can't show you. Any poodle mix, really. Labradoodle, Golden Doodle, I love them a lot. Blue Staffy, that's Jesse's favorite dog, and every time I see them, I'm like, You're so cute and smiley. Samoyed and pitties. Next category is flowers. I wrote anything orange because I don't really know flower names. Trees. Palm trees, olive trees, lemon trees, stone pines, Pamparasol in French, but I think the name in English is stone pines. And then I wrote that tree at Next Health because I took a picture of a tree inside Next Health in West Hollywood 2 years ago, and I haven't been able to find what species it is, but I love it so much and I want one so bad. My legs are asleep. Next category is fruits. I wrote watermelon, bananas, lychees. I'm trying really hard to stop saying lychee because in French you say lychee, but I feel like the correct pronunciation is lychee, so I'm trying to say lychee. Next category is veggies. I wrote carrots, peas, bell peppers, and onions, but caramelized, not raw. I hate raw onions. I feel like a child every time I say that, and it's so embarrassing to have to ask people to remove onions. People, like restaurants, remove onions. I don't like raw onions. I don't want to smell bad. The next category is desserts. Banana pudding, chocolate lava cake, gooey chocolate chip cookies, anything chocolate. I just really like chocolate. I was talking to my friend yesterday who is basically done with 75 hard. And I've been thinking about 75 hard a lot because I just feel like it's a cool challenge and I kind of want to do it. But the no sugar for 75 days, I think I would perish. I like sugar. Next one is entrees. That was really hard because how do you pick your favorite entrees? But I wrote couscous royal, which is that Algerian, Middle Eastern, North African dish with couscous and veggies and meats and broth, and it's so yummy. And then I wrote steak frites, fried rice, preferably with pineapple, shrimp, and Chinese sausage. And then I wrote pork belly, but I think I've just been eating a lot of pork belly recently and it wasn't on my mind. I'm starving right now. Then music artists. I feel like I have kind of two categories. The first one is pop, R&B pop, and then it's EDM. For the first one, I wrote Kehlani, SZA, Ariana Grande, and the next one is Fred again, Odessa, Rufus du Sol, and Darius. But I feel like it's just so hard to think of your favorite things on the top of your head. I don't know how people are able to answer those questions so quickly, especially celebrities when they have interviews and they're like, what's your favorite XYZ? And they answer on the spot. I'm like, do you have that prepared? So I think I'm going to start a note on my phone so that anytime someone asks me the questions, I'll have the answer. And finally, the last category is favorite colors. First one is for sure yellow/orange, like a yellowish orange or an orangey yellow, like kind of a sunset. And then I wrote terracotta, sage green, and I wrote like a metallic blue, but it's not metallic. I feel like it's not the right word. A little bit of a desaturated grayish blue. I like it. Another exercise was about acceptance, basically learning to say yes to freebies, things that don't cost you money but also don't cost money to other people, like an invitation somewhere that you normally wouldn't allow yourself to go to because you have work, you have things to do, this isn't your space, this isn't your comfort zone. And it's interesting because I was talking to my aunt and she said that there's a saying in my family, which is in French, but in English it translates to, if someone gives you something, take it. If someone takes something from you, scream. They always say it as like a joke, but the scenario in which they say it is always the same. It's when we're trying to give something to each other in the family, and the first reaction is always no. Like, I'm okay, thank you. And I feel like that's maybe a cultural North African, Middle Eastern thing where you don't want to take from other people, you'd rather give. But it's also something you need to unlearn because saying yes to things is the best way to get into situations that you would want to be in. You have to trust that if someone is offering something to you, they want to give it to you. They want you to have it. And I feel like the mindset that we're in is it's like, I don't want to take it because I'm not worthy of it, or it would be a nuisance. It would be a nuisance. I'm not gonna say it. I love when people tell me you don't even have a French accent, and I'm like, just wait until I hit a word that I can't pronounce. So yeah, I'm working on saying yes to a lot more things, and I did say yes to a couple of things this weekend. It was La Fête de la Musique, which I think Americans translated to National Music Week, even though it's only one day. Every June 21st in France, we have this celebration of music where artists have concerts everywhere around the city, and it's people singing, people playing instruments, DJs, and it's really, really fun. And I haven't been here for it in years, and I wasn't gonna go because I was tired from my cousin's birthday the day before. I had just gotten to Paris. I was a little bit nervous. about who I was gonna hang out with, because it's also the first time in a really long time that I come to Paris alone without bringing a friend or a boyfriend. But then I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna go. And so I went and I met up with some of my childhood friends, and it was really fun. And then they wanted to go to an after, and I was like, I'm a little nervous. And then I said yes, and it ended up being a lot of fun. So I'm doing it. And then finally, any changes in your financial situation or your perspective on it. And that's where I say mixed feelings, because this whole week allowed me to rationalize on a lot of the roots of my anxiety when it comes to finances. And I think I understand it better, but it's not gone. And I'm being kind to myself. I know this is not an overnight thing, and this is 100% the biggest anxiety I have in my life. So I can't expect it to disappear just like that. But we've taken great steps. I think I feel clearer. I think I feel more confident and brave in taking those risks or spending money on things that I would deem not necessary, because I consider them more as investments for myself rather than bad purchases. This book also always talks about synchronicity, things that have been on your mind and that you've been kind of trying to focus on, and then they happen. And I had probably one of my best financial weeks. I had my best financial week in a lot of weeks since the beginning of the year, for sure, maybe in a year. That is amazing, and I'm very grateful. I think that's basically it. I feel a little bit silly because I don't feel like a decisive end to this week. I think this week is gonna bleed down onto the next and the next and the next after that. But I feel good. I am not gonna hang up. We're not on the phone. I am not gonna stop filming because it's 9:30 p.m. and I want dinner. So I'm gonna go downstairs and check out what my parents are cooking. Or maybe my brother is cooking right now. I'm also gonna go feed Crash because he's crashed out right now, but he needs to eat. And yeah, we're halfway through. I know it's taken me a really long time, but we're halfway through. The next week is recovering a sense of connection for week 7. And I'm really excited to tackle that one. I'm also gonna be at my grandma's house when I do it. So I don't know if I'm gonna have that much time to do it because I wanna focus on spending time with her. But I'll get it done at some point. Okay, bye.